The San Francisco 49ers team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code SGPN to score up to $250 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
This is Randy Cross. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stuck in the morning rain with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog. I'm Brock Hard, and I'm ready to party.
Oh my God, it is here. We're down to the final two, San Francisco 49ers. Of course, congrats to the 2023 NFC champs, San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, look at this beautiful commemorative helmet signed by Kyle Juszczyk from
Yes.
Caught the first helmet in the caught the first pass in the Super Bowl, winning me an insane amount of money. So much so the Circa had to pay me in chips.
That was great.
Just domination of a sports book. Sorry, Derek.
We did go to the upstairs terminal, and Ryan cashed.
Guy was super cool.
Yeah, Ryan cashed out, and the guy goes, "I can go downstairs and hit the cashier and get more cash, but are you okay taking chips?" And Ryan's like, "Oh, so you're out of money? Yeah, I can take the chips." All-time cash. Yeah, we did pretty good there in the old San Francisco 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl.
Beautiful, beautiful helmet.
We're going to be joined by a guest who was at that game, big 49ers fan. If you're a friend of the program, I think you know who's coming up. But Ryan, you mentioned the Brock Purdy shirts, and we're running a merch sale, 10% off everything in the merch store, including the Brock Purdy shirts, when you use the promo code football. So a lot of great gear. Perfect time to get ready. College, NFL season. It's here. It's football. We're ready to go.
Sean, it just hit me. This week we'll be breaking down college football games.
It's insane.
Live.
College football week 0, and then college football week 1, NFL week 1. It is just back to back. It's going to be great. Cannot wait. And of course, each episode of the 32 NFL team previews, we are revealing a word, and we're now on our 31st word. 32 words form a 32-word phrase. Of course, write the phrase down, one word each episode, then submit it. And one lucky winner will get a $500 Circa NFL future. The San Francisco 49ers word is Dallas.
Oh, no.
Dallas is the word, and people were trying to guess the phrase.
Oh no!
I think now there's probably going to be a ton of people who can guess. Word 32. It starts with an S. I will reveal that. But again, wait until we have the form so you can submit it. We get your name, your email, and we're going to do a drawing NFL Week 1 picks episode. So looking forward to that, Ryan. Right around the corner. Taking a look at the San Francisco 49ers. Came in at 12-5 last year. 9-8 ATS. Win total was 10.5. We both had the under. Unfortunately, I don't think I was that. I was probably 9-8 or 10-7. They smashed it. They won the NFC. Offensive DVOA #1, defensive DVOA #4. Turnover margin +10, which is something that maybe is not going to break right for them this year. Certainly looking pretty good coming into the season. Obviously, some big questions, and I will. We're going to be joined by Katie Mox in a few minutes here. Would love to get her take on the Brandon Ayuk situation. It really is days of our league where he's coming back. He's definitely getting traded. He's definitely coming back. That's a huge swing for the 49ers in this offense.
We saw a version where the fan base was pissed at the organization, and then now they're pissed at the player. So who knows?
Well, it is weird. It does feel like the fans were on Ayuk's side, and now since he's dragged this out, maybe they're a little pissed and annoyed that he's dragged this out so far. Trent Williams,
not the only holdout.
Trent Williams holding out, but
kind of matters.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. And I think if you look at potential weaknesses of a good 49ers team, 24th in offensive line according to PFF, and that's with the aging Trent Williams, who Well, I'm gonna guess they figure it out with Trent Williams. Maybe Brandon Ayuk actually does get traded. It does seem like Pittsburgh is the place if he gets traded, but I predict Trent Williams. They will figure it out. He's an old guy, probably just looking to get some rest and relaxation and a couple extra bucks. Knows he has a ton of leverage because the rest of the offensive line, a bunch of questions. So I do think it matters that they get Trent Williams back. I think they will, but just coming back, and Katie herself pointed out to me, hey, the Super Bowl hangover for the Eagles last year, it's real. Last 23 Super Bowl runner ups are 6-15-2 to their win total over. That's obviously a big thing to get over the hump. And then Christian McCaffery, I mentioned it when we were talking fantasy. When you have 400 plus touches in a season, you're probably going to get injured the next season, and he's already dealing with the calf thing. So I don't think he's going to miss the entire season. I don't think it's going to be a crazy injury, but even this calf thing, it just feels like he's not going to be there for all 17
It's very
games.
brave of you to bring this up before Katie's sitting here.
Well, this is why it's a great part of the show. We get the guests all fired up, chomping at the bit, ready to come out swinging. But
oh man,
I mean, Ryan, where am I off on this 49ers team?
You didn't mention they got rid of the cancer that was Steve Wilkes.
They got rid of their defensive coordinator, who
that was
I thought he did a pretty decent job, and I imagine 49ers fans are mad he didn't adjust more to Patrick Mahomes maybe in the Super Bowl. It's clear it was like a personality thing. Him and Shanahan didn't get along.
Well, and they tried to hire Belichick as the defensive coordinator in the offseason. Awesome. That would have been a major power move. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like the drama at some point it becomes too close to the season. Trent Williams is a guy he's definitely willing to prove a point. It feels like. Do you remember the medical stuff with the Washington Redskins / football team / Commanders? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do seem like key components to the offense. I think Ayuk especially. We see the splits. We see how much the offensive, whatever measurement you want to look at, EPA drops per play when Ayuk is not on the field. And so, yeah, I guess you didn't miss much. Defense. Any questions with the dude? I mean, basically, young kid, first job, Nick Sorensen. He was at Virginia Tech while I was there,
but they did bring in Brandon Staley.
Had an amazing reputation for partying.
Oh, really? Oh, like to crack some cold ones?
He finished school, I think, my sophomore year. Yeah, there were a handful of football guys that hung out at the rugby house.
Last thing I'll mention as far as players, and let's bring up the list here. Drake Greenlaw. The fact that he got injured in the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
The fact that they're most likely going to miss him for the entire season is huge.
Sam Darnold, that big loss.
I still think is not good. I know I angered the internet by saying Sam Darnold not good. I know crazy take. Randy Gregory, who the Bucks just cut. I don't think you're missing much there.
Yeah.
Chase Young, I thought was
he quit. Come on, you can't have the quit take and then the not quit take.
Chase Young though, he showed up in that first half of the Super Bowl. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he's trying to get paid.
I don't. He's always been an enigma. Hasn't played up to his talent. Arik Armsted, I do think probably a legit loss for them. Ricky Pearsall, taking him in the draft, maybe putting a little pressure on Ayuk and Debo, being like, hey, we can do a next man up here situation. Other than that, adding some offensive linemen, couple cornerbacks there. Any thoughts on who they brought in? Logan Thomas. I don't even know what that guy has left. Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, now backup quarterback.
They failed to get Belichick. I mean, you didn't secure the bag there. That was I mean, obviously bringing in a guy like Josh Dobbs, it even for a hater like yourself who is, projecting much. You're wearing an Eagles jersey for the Niners.
It's rivalry week. But we've created a rivalry.
So I think even just having a serviceable, maybe he's not good in 4 or 5 games, but for 2 or 3 games, just in case quarterback, he's fun, has a little spunk in his step. This team is loaded. The roster's good. So a lot of the pieces they're bringing in, not potentially not super critical. I would say that the the area on the defense, just reloading on the front of the defense, I guess you're going to have some of those guys hit. And then the Ricky Pearsall piece, you probably need him to show up a little bit. Now Ayuk's around, it doesn't matter as much, but I think like Debo being this high energy guy that just gets you some explosive plays from time to time is fun. But I think for this offense to continue to be elite, it needs another pass catcher out there.
So I think
that isn't George Kittle or Brandon.
Yeah, I think if you had to choose between Ayuk and Debo, everyone would say Ayuk, right?
Yeah, I think if you're a fan of the team, you say Ayuk probably. Debo, I could see someone being like, but yeah, Debo runs so hard. So hard.
All right.
But yeah, you can't be that low on this team this year. Can you, Sean?
Well, we'll see. That's why we are about to walk through their schedule, be joined by a guest. Before we do that, of course, shout out to Underdog Fantasy, where you can take higher or lower on a lot of San Francisco 49er fantasy projections. Get a nice little pick 'em going. Ryan, they already refunded my JJ McCarthy lower. That got voided because he's going to be out the entire season.
You were on the right side.
It was paired with Daniel Jones. It was two great lowers on the season long. There's a ton of awesome NFL season long action over on Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code SGPN. Get that $250 deposit match. And of course, Circa Sports. Sign up for both Circa contests, Circa Million, 6 million guaranteed, Circa Survivor, 10 million guaranteed. Use our proxy Vegas Maddie. You can just go to proxy.footballcontest.com. Use a promo code SGP. Get you $50 off. Come out, say hi this weekend, Thursday through Saturday. It's going to be a party. So much fun out there. Enter in Nevada. Play from anywhere. Circasports.com. Joining us on the line, you know her from CBS Sports, Miss Katie Mox. Katie, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me and having me sit in and listen to all of that. First, you got to talk about the Super Bowl, which, like, Jesus, my very first Super Bowl I ever attended, and it ends like that. And then you got to go in and talk about everything else. So really feeling the love here. If it wasn't for the Brock Purdy shirt,
Ryan saved
I might have signed off already.
Katie, what was it like though being, as an actual fan, having to be there and be professional and watch the game, and it must have been horrible.
It was weird. It felt surreal, right? Because I was there all week for the Super Bowl working with CBS, and I've never been busier in my life. I felt like I was having 12-hour days doing everything that I could. So when you're working all the time, it almost doesn't feel like your team is in the Super Bowl. You're talking about it every day, all day long, but you don't have that kind of like fan anticipation and like hanging with your buddies and talking about and all that kind of stuff. It was just business, business, business. I didn't even know that I was going to go to the game either. It was a friend of mine that happened to have like an extra ticket, who works for NFL Network, and she ended up working the game. So they gave her it was up in the rafters. I mean, they look like little peanuts down there. And I went by myself, but who was going to turn down an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl? So I was there and I showed up, and I was having a good time, obviously, for most of the game. And, but it's still never, this sounds crazy. I prefer to watch it at home with the commercials. I prefer to be with people that you love and know. I prefer to watch the replays, to hear what the announcers are saying. Even the commercials, all of that stuff, it goes by so fast. And again, like I was up in like the 400 section, so you couldn't really see anything that well. I had something that was like blocking the screen even, so I couldn't exactly see how, I was up there and I was still at a Super Bowl, rich of me to complain about anything, but I prefer watching it at home. But I will say, when you say be professional, when we lost the game, I just wanted to get out of there immediately, right? Like anybody, if your team loses, like you just want to get out of there. And the way that the stadium is set up is you go through this little, you're leaving the venue itself, right? And for the most part, it's just 49ers fans that are trying to get out of there, right? So you feel fine. And as you keep walking, you get angrier and angrier and like more upset. Then you got to walk through this little overpass, and then it drops you off into, I'm not sure if it was the Luxor or Mandalay Bay, but some casino. And then at that point, there's all the Super Bowl parties, right? And here's now all the drunk Chief fans that are just elated as they should be and, talking their talk. And I could feel myself starting to get spicier and spicier. And I was like, get out of here. You are representing CBS. You are here for work.
Katie's ready
get
to break
in a cab.
Bottle. Come at me. Come at me.
Well, and y'all know me well enough by now that I could get there. Right. But I was like, oh Lord, help me get home. So
no, I know I sympathize as a team who they lost to the Chiefs by 3 points in the Super Bowl. There was a chance where I was like, oh, maybe I'll buy a ticket, go by myself and represent. And then I'm like, well, there is a small chance maybe they lose or whatever. And then it's like the scenario you described. Also, like if in Vegas adds another weird component, like I could just imagine myself going to a blackjack table, just betting every dollar I could get a hold of.
That's how you go on a weird like $500 a hand blackjack bender in the high limit area.
There's not, it's a weird place to like. Yeah, I mean, luckily we and I had to do the post game show for our podcast, but I could walk home, and so I just drank an insane amount of whiskey, and it was this sad, lonely walk home, and cleaning up after the party, like throwing out plates of food that Chiefs fans ate, and I'm just like, fucking guy won't even finish his fucking wings, and I gotta clean up this bullshit, and that's the problem with. Ryan hasn't experienced like a playoff loss like that in a long time, but when your team is good and they get to the Super Bowl and you get that close that you can taste it, it's tough to get back there the next year.
I remember 2000 when Jim Fossil took the Giants and Ravens got a couple of nice calls. It was tough. It is. I think it's tough obviously for the fans, but I do think it's tough on the players. Like the Eagles they had the Super Bowl hangover. My line is they had some Gatorade and some ibuprofen, and they didn't get the hangover those first 11 games. Delayed
hangover.
Yeah, it started out 10-1, and then it was just that throbbing hangover where your brain's gonna explode. Where are you at with this 49ers team coming into the season? I mean, we'll get to their schedule. I think it does start out good for them, schedule wise, at least early. But I do think, like the Christian McCaffery, a bunch of touches, the Ayuk stuff. Where are you at with this 49ers team?
I'm trepidatious going into this season, right? Like I'm not, well, when I look at like the betting, the over or the under, of course I'm going to take the over when you look at this 49ers team and what they've been able to do the last few years, and you got plus money on the over, like I'm going to do that. But at the same time, I understand the Super Bowl hangover. I look at the last time that the 49ers were in the Super Bowl. Now, thankfully we don't have to go to MetLife this year, and not because that'd be an easy win against the Giants, because that's the place where soft tissues go to die. And we saw what happened in the 20. You shouldn't even like it for your players. They have to be there every week.
I agree, and worth noting they did replace it with new turf. So the injury date. Although why not have grass?
Why not? Exactly. That's what
they spend so much money. Why would you be cheap on the turf? It really makes no sense.
It's like they keep the Arizona case is like, all right, guys, they literally have this grass field. They roll around, they take it out so people don't stomp on it for concerts. Anyway, you can make fun of the field at the Meadowlands if you'd like.
So, I mean, I don't
like that you're making fun of it, but you can do it.
Right. Okay. Well, last year you wore the Brock Purdy shirt, and then you continued to take a SHIT on the 49ers the whole time. So like we could.
Brian did have the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Well, I feel like when I came on for the preview, you were like, loss.
Yeah, that was true. But then once they got there, and then I also had Kyle Juszczyk. I don't know if you heard. First catch in the Super Bowl. You mentioned it earlier on Media Week, just having the same thing happen over and over again. I was telling everyone that
that was a broken record, and so when it happened, it was pretty great.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I'm trepidatious going to the season on paper. The one thing that I feel worried about is I feel like for the last few years, even though the 49ers have been stacked, there's been so many question marks, right? With the Trey Lance situation, even though they're stacked, how's he going to be? And then he gets injured, and Jimmy gets injured, and Brock Purdy comes out and he has this incredible start. But then it was like, okay, well, they're stacked again, but can Brock Purdy do this again? And so we were never underdogs. That'd be ridiculous to say, but there was like just a little hint of people not believing. This year, it seems like, okay, there's really no excuses for the 49ers. When you talk about the drama that's happening in the offseason, the deal with Trent Williams is going to get done because the 49ers don't have a choice there. He is the most important person on this team. It goes Trent Williams, Christian McCaffery, and then Brock Purdy, as far as I'm concerned. The Aiyuk stuff, and I know you guys were alluding to this, and how 49ers fans feel. Now, I can't speak for everyone. I have, and I came on your show a couple years ago and we were talking about the Debo situation. I always believe that the deal is going to get done. I feel like it's a lot of posturing from these players. And I trust Shanahan and I trust Lynch. I feel like outside of the Trey Lance situation, they make very good decisions for this team. And it is an organization that people want to play at. I know you're laughing and like to play for these two guys. So I always thought it was going to get done, but then it came to a point where I didn't care. I was like, what do you want? Aiyuk? And it reminded me of The Notebook. You see that movie. He's like, what do you want? She's like, it's not that simple. What do you want? That's exactly what it felt like with Aiyuk. It's like, do you want money? Because the Patriots are giving you the money that you want. No, because you want to play for a contender. But then a contender, you're not going to get that kind of money. And then finally something came together with the Steelers. I guess I'd be curious to see what that looked like. Maybe some kind of, I heard so many different theories about a 3-team trade. Maybe we could get Devontae Adams or something cool like that. Okay, sure. If it comes to that, like I was ready to give up on Aiyuk. I just didn't care anymore because the drama had got so crazy. Now it seems like Aiyuk called the 49ers bluff. They were able to get up to close to $30 million. I believe what's holding them up now, right, is that fourth year. He wants more of a guarantee or something in that fourth year. The 49ers maybe aren't willing to budge on that. But I think he did call their bluff to the point where they finally came up to that amount of money. I believe that he's going to be a 49er. Do I think he's going to have a down year this year? I do, because you look at the history of these players playing these games, specifically Debo just a couple seasons ago, they end up not having that great of a year because they're not in the shape that they need to be in, and they're not in the headspace that they need to be in. So I don't have high expectations for Aiyuk this year, but I do expect him to be a 49er.
Yeah, I know it does always lean towards they're going to figure it out. This guy's going to get paid. And yeah, I mean, I get it, get your money, but to your point, like, yeah, if it was just about the money, the Patriots offered you the most money, and the 49ers came up to at least 30 million, maybe over 30 million. The first 3 years they have all figured out. And then he's making all this fuss about that fourth year. It really doesn't make sense. The one off-season move before we hop into the schedule, we got to get your take on, Katie, not directly on the 49ers, but known stud Jimmy Garoppolo goes from the Las Vegas Raiders, where it's like, okay, he's in the AFC. You can still kind of have a crush on him, but now he's in the division. And now Matt Stafford dealing with some hamstring tightness. To me, my worst scenario in the NFL is if the Cowboys were ever to win a Super Bowl. Thankfully, that's never going to happen. But I imagine Jimmy G coming in a Rams uniform, taking on the 49ers.
Horrible.
And having that's worst case scenario, right?
I don't think he'd have a great game against the 49ers. I'll go ahead and say that. Look, I love Jimmy. I still have his bobblehead on my desk at work. I want good things for Jimmy.
Yes.
But I don't know that good things are in store for Jimmy. What we saw, I was shocked and appalled at his quarterback play in Vegas. And did y'all watch the quarterback or the receiver series on Netflix?
Yes.
It was almost more appalling to see it from Devontae Adams' perspective too, and to have him, because we could all see it. We saw it happening, but to watch that back, I was just like, man, I don't know about this guy. Now, what is he? He's a second string, third string quarterback in LA. And Matt Stafford is older, but if Jimmy Garoppolo ends up being it will be painful to me, but I'll be like, all right, let's sink in those wins.
Chances. Yeah, I don't know.
My theory is that McVay brought him in just to have a guy to get him into the hot club in LA.
Well, it does seem like they're, a couple guys, young guys out on the town. Although McVay's married now, right? So,
I don't know. I mean, Jimmy G doesn't seem to. He's not going to ask questions.
I'm with Katie though. Like once he was on the Raiders, you're like, oh, okay, so it definitely was. If there was any doubt whether it was the Shanahan system or Jimmy G, I think he answered that question in Las Vegas, and the fact that how quickly the Raiders moved on from him. I mean, I don't know at the top of my head. I don't know what kind of dead cat they ate, but it was clearly like, all right, woo.
Devontae Adams was wide open multiple times, and he couldn't see him or find him. And at that point, it was painful. And I hated looking at him sad on the sideline, but I don't want him on my team, and I'd be happy to play against him.
Yeah, Sean, it's like that, when they were cleaning up the mess in Goodfellas.
Oh yeah.
McDaniels had some loose ends. They just needed to tie off here.
Needed to get them whacked. All right, Ryan, let's take a look at the odds for the 49ers, walk through the schedule, talk some future bets. Whopping 11.5. The win total is -470 to make the playoffs.
A lot of respect.
Miss playoffs plus 330. Win the division, you have to lay money -190. Conference 3-1. Super Bowl 6-1.
Unreal.
And let's get into that schedule, Ryan.
In this economy, only the Chiefs are more expensive to win the division, Sean.
Well,
all right. So opening the season in a game that Sean and I have already said, very interesting dog spot for Aaron Rodgers and this Jets team.
Oof.
On Monday Night Football. Then a back-to-back road spot at Vikings, at Rams, then Patriots at home. The road games, one of them is going to be very winnable. You're going against Sam Darnold, who you had in the building and let go. Says everything you need to know about Sam Darnold. The Jets game is the scariest game in this portion of the schedule.
Is it though?
Well, as a fan,
no, I don't know. Katie, tell me.
Because
first of all, we don't know what kind of Aaron Rodgers we're gonna get. Right. And I was super hyped on Aaron Rodgers last year. The guy came out with a flag and then ended up injured. I'm not saying that's going to happen again. I certainly hope that doesn't happen again. But it's been a while since we've seen Aaron Rodgers play. And look, he's got the weapons, and he traditionally doesn't really do that well at Levi Stadium playing against the 49ers and his former team. And he always likes to say like, oh, they're going to be the ones to regret not getting me, which by the way, hand up. Yes, we do. But still, he hasn't been able to play very well there. And their O-line is, shaky at best. And you got to protect a very old quarterback that's coming off an injury. So I think the 49ers win this one handedly.
Ooh. All right. So I'm kind of with, the Jets one. I think what scares me is that I think everyone's going to be picking the Jets as their money line dog. Well, we know public dogs have fleas, but I still think I'm caught between the spread and the actual straight up thing. I do think coming off the Super Bowl loss, it is easy to be a little sleepy in game one, but the other three spots, they seemingly do very well in Los Angeles. That's going to feel like a home crowd. I think even if you're drinking a tiny bit of haterade, I'll go 3-1. Kramer, what do you got them going first four?
No hangover.
No hangover.
Well, we just discussed the hangover, and you're no hangover.
No, I think 3-1.
Well, but to be fair, this is the easy part of the schedule, Kramer. It gets dicey,
To Katie's point, like I think they're going to hit a wall later on in the season, but I think especially early. I mean, I think these are very favorable spots for them.
So you're giving them the back-to-back road wins.
Well, I think either they mess up one of the road games or the Jets game. So that's kind of where I'm at 3-1. I don't think they're gonna. I would be kind of
3-1.
I'd be kind of surprised if they're 2-2.
I said I was Brock hard and ready to party. I can't start off 2-2.
Katie, are you 4-0? It sounds like it.
I have their first loss coming in week 6 against the Seahawks, actually.
Oh, wow.
4-0. Wow. All right. So I guess no hangover. The water in San Francisco must cure hangovers. That seems like a dicey proposition. Cardinals at Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, which sounds like Katie has as an L. Then Chiefs and Cowboys at home in back-to-back weeks. Wow. A lot of home games there, Sean. Very winnable. This also feels like it could be 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know Dallas sucks. To Katie's point, at Seattle, usually division road Thursday night games, I'm going to lean towards the visitor. The thing is, it is a rookie head coach. I know everyone's hyped on Mike McDonald, and maybe he ends up being a good head coach. I guess I'm a little skeptical. To me, he feels like we're going to find out he's more a coordinator than a head coach. Also skeptical of Geno Smith. Cardinals at home. I like that for them. Chiefs at home. I think they could ease it, but Chiefs are going to have a little extra rest if they lose at Seattle. So I don't think they lose at Seattle and Chiefs at home. So I'll go 3-1 again. Ryan, what are you doing?
I guess 3-1. You know, we didn't mention it, but they were very. They had very few injuries last year.
Well, and I don't want to talk about Christian McCaffery and how many carries he had, but Katie, it sounds like you have at least one loss against Seattle. Do you get him to 2 losses here? Or are you going 3-1?
I do. Well, one, I think they win against the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are still in a rebuild, even though you got Marvin Harrison Jr. and you got a lot of good things happening there, but I don't have a lot of faith in them. The reason why I think they lose to the Seahawks is it's a short week, and then you've got the Chiefs the next week. They could get caught up in a little bit of a look ahead here, trying to prepare for the Chiefs, who they just lost to in overtime to the Super Bowl, in the Super Bowl rather. So I feel like the Seahawks could catch them slipping a little bit. So I think they lose that game, and you don't want to go into the Chiefs having just lost to the Seahawks in Seattle. So I think they lose to the Chiefs again. I think this is their 2-game losing streak. We did see them go on a 3-game losing streak last year. And then they come back and there's no one better to rebound than against Mike McCarthy and Dallas in prime time. Embarrassing McCarthy for us in prime time is just, it's the tale as old as time. So I think they bounce back against the Cowboys, but I do have them getting 2 losses in week 6 and 7.
So Ryan, we all 3 of us, a fan of the 49ers, a skeptic, and a middle. Well, you are Brock Hard, but we all have
Brock
them.
Hard ready to party.
We all have them 6-2, and then the second half of the schedule.
And then the bye hat. Wow, how nice of him to get the bye right in the middle of the season. So that's nice. I don't know what Lynch did. Real welcome mat of a forehead. This guy at Bucks, Seahawks at home. At Packers, at Bills, in primetime.
Ryan, I'll let you go here. I think this is a tough stretch.
Well, we like our Buccaneers. I see. Yeah. I guess you got to give them the Seahawks win because it's a home game in the division. But the rest of them are tricky, right? You got the revenge angle with the Packers. You got the Bills, maybe a game that doesn't matter as much there, non-conference, and then we're gonna 100% be taking the Bucks as home dogs in that spot. I can already see it.
I think after the bye, this is where they kind of hit a little bit of a wall.
Do we get a Pastronaut sighting here? Maybe a couple weeks of the Pastronaut.
I hope not, Ryan. I want to see. I want to see Brock Purdy out there. I think this is a tough stretch. I'm gonna go 1-3. I'm gonna go 1-3.
Wow. All right, I'll join you. 1-3. 1-3. Yeah. How about that,
Katie? How say you? 3 road games at Packers, at Bills, tough spots. But she's got her mean mug. Ryan, look out.
And I have them going 3-1 here.
Okay.
The Bucks, I just don't think are as well rounded to deal with the 49ers that will throw at them. I think that they could beat the Seahawks in this game. Like you said, being at home, and what we see from the Seahawks is they put up a really good fight in the first half, and then they end up making some mistakes, and the 49ers come out in the second half. Packers, I have a win there, but I do have them losing to the Bills. Because if you think about it, the Bills are coming off of a bye week. So they're fully rested for this. And the 49ers will have to go through 2 time zones because they had to do the Packers and then they got to go through the Bills. So this seems like a tricky spot for them. I give the edge to the Bills there. So we'll do that.
Katie, very optimistic in this stretch.
3-1. No, she sees it a little differently, but
us less optimistic.
9-3. Certainly not.
I have them splitting with the Seahawks.
Yeah,
I have them beating, and I have them losing to the Bills. I mean, and the Bucks. You guys are high. I'm high on the Bucks in their division, but that doesn't say much.
Bucks also a little revenge from last year. They did lose to them.
Oh yeah,
in the regular season. All right, so last 5, we got 3 home games. Bears at home, which if you believe the preseason, Caleb Williams might be the best quarterback.
Yeah,
that isn't named Patrick Mahomes. Then you have the Rams on Thursday night. Which in McVay desperate to get a win against Mr. Shanahan at Dolphins. Interesting matchup there late in the season, and then the Lions at home on Monday Night Football and the road game against the Cardinals. Oh boy, do I give the Cardinals a win here? I think I have to.
Ryan, you do like to split division games. I think I'm gonna go 3-2 because I think that at Dolphins spot is gonna be. I think that's just gonna be tricky. I guess they do have the extra rest, but I feel like after the Rams, I wouldn't be shocked if there's a bit of a letdown, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lose the Lions game either, because the Lions certainly have that one circled after blowing their lead in the NFC Conference Championship game. Some guys had nice sized money line bets on that. I'm sure they're really upset about letting those guys down. So I will say, before 3-2.
The Dolphins have a gnarly stretch of games where they go Patriots at Packers, Jets at Texans, then the Niners. Well, it's a very so I think that is actually a winnable game.
No, and you're right. Maybe I guess
off the mini bye.
I guess Dolphins at home late. He owns taking the Dolphins. That's true. But I mean, if you look at Bears at home, Bears could maybe sneak one out.
2-3.
You're going 2-3.
I'm sorry, 3-2.
Yeah, that's what 3-2. I think it might be the Dolphins, but also too, like week 18, if they have their playoff position figured out.
I think they lose the last 2 games of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean the Lions game, Lions might have that circled. They'll get up for it. Oh. Katie, where are you in the final 5?
So I have them losing to the Bears. Because based on what you said with what we've seen from Caleb Williams, it's very impressive. Their defense was really good down the stretch last year. Like I think that this Bears team is going to be like the Texans were last year, although not as surprising as the Texans were last year, but just as good. The Rams, they can never beat the 49ers in the regular season when it actually matters. Dolphins, if this was early in the season, I would say, maybe the Dolphins can win this one, but by the end of the season, the Dolphins always seem to fall apart. I'm just not sure that they don't have the defense. They don't have the pass rush it'll be a high scoring game potentially, but I just don't think they have the defense to stop the Niners. And Shanahan does historically very well against his former coordinators or people that worked in his tree. So sorry, Mike McDaniel on that. This Lions game is interesting to me because this could be, they could have the same record going into this game, right? Maybe this game decides, who wins the division or who wins the conference or I'm talking about who gets the number 1 seed. And so this is going to be a hard fought one. I think it comes down to coaching. So I'll give this one to Shanahan because as much as I love Dan Campbell, he just can't seem to get out of his own way sometimes with going for it on things that he doesn't need to. And then this Cardinals game goes around. I could see them potentially losing this Cardinals game because it doesn't matter. And they don't play any of their starters because they're looking just to the next week, kind of like they did last year with the Rams. So I guess I could give that a loss.
So officially,
was that 3-2?
3-2. All right.
So what did she finish on?
12-5. 12-5. So over 10.5.
No hangovers. Sean, we didn't say it out loud, but they are projected to be favored in every game this year.
That's crazy.
They were last year too, weren't they? For the most part.
Might be I think they were a dog in one of the games. Were they not?
They were probably a dog in Philly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they did beat the Eagles in that situation.
Funny you bring up that game.
17.
I breezed by it in the 2023 recap.
Only losing five games when you're favored in all 17 feels like a pretty conservative projection. What am I on?
You're on 10-7. I'm on 10-7 because I do think.
Hold on, that can't be.
There's a bunch of moving parts here. 10-7 sounds about right. I
injury regression, Super Bowl hangover,
turnover differential as well.
Plenty. That's plenty, right?
We're going to talk some of our favorite futures. Of course, a shout to Rhythm. If you haven't signed up with Rhythm yet, what are you waiting for? The place for AI picks and props. Let big data give you a nice little hand here. Love the models here. We're going to be doing some custom stuff around, of course, props. NFL week 1, college football week 0. They got projections up. It really is awesome. And if you've ever been skeptical to put together your own model, they make it super easy, very easy to put together. Once you start tinkering, you're going to really enjoy the app. Just give it a try. Free 7-day trial. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMS. a.m. Get started today. And of course, we're also brought to you by Game Time. That's right. Use the promo code SGPN. Get you $20 off. GameTime.co, your go-to app for last minute tickets. Maybe you want to check out a 49ers game. You're a big 49ers fan like Katie. You want to hang out at Levi's Stadium. Very big parking lot. I got lost there at a Grateful Dead show, and I asked the parking lot attendant how to get to the stadium. I was that far away from the actual stadium. He said he didn't know, and he said just follow the other people.
What?
Which was really, it's very spread out stadium, but plenty of great not only games but concerts, comedy. Saw Grateful Dead at the Sphere. I use Game Time. Use the promo code SGPN. Get you $20 off, or just go to GameTime.co, your go-to app for last-minute tickets. Game Time. Promo code SGPN. Kramer, I'll let you start. You have the old 49ers here, 10-7. What are some future plays you like for the San Francisco 49ers?
I was just noticing the division final standings, and it does appear like, Sean, are you sure you want to finish? You have them winning the division.
Who do I have ahead of them?
You don't have anyone ahead of them.
No, sorry. Wait, who is what do I have the other teams at?
9-8 for the Rams and Cardinals.
All right, I'll leave it 10-7.
Wow.
But I'm not.
Sean picks the 49ers to win the division. Sean, you wouldn't believe it. They finish, in my version of reality, they finished one game behind the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. All right. That's a little optimistic.
Josh, please tell me. Yeah, hopefully you got that face just Katie flashed it at me right
well,
now.
also Moonoff in the comments saying that the 49ers are going to miss the playoffs.
Oh, Moonoff.
Whoa,
wow. Katie
harsh.
just firing daggers. Kramer, what do you like? What do you got here?
Okay, so I do think it's the hangover plus the idea of injury regression plus their best player, as Katie put it, currently not signed, not showing
but will
up.
be. No one's worried about that, Kramer.
So now that Moonoff brings it up, even though I have them making the playoffs as a wild card, feels like it could be where I wasn't even going to do this. Moonoff just mused me into the. I'm going to look up the price right now.
I think it's like 330 maybe.
Oh wow, my goodness! I want to let me make sure this is a most up to date price. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm giving out the wrong number. But yeah, I think worth it, worth the sprinkle. Someone in this division is going to step up, and I do think again, we don't project injury, but they do seem like some regression could come in that area.
Yeah.
So I would start there. That's how I would build the beginnings of the card.
You're looking to the under, miss playoffs, worth a sprinkle.
The under's a nice bet. Yeah.
I like the under 10.5 wins. I will also toss in now. Breece Hall. They have a head-to-head matchups. Breece Hall versus Christian McCaffery rushing yards.
Ooh.
I'll take Breece Hall at plus 120.
Oh wow.
I'm just a little skeptical of Christian McCaffrey.
Rushing or total yards?
Rushing yards.
Okay.
So I think he's, and I would be surprised if he's dealing with the calf thing. They take it easy on him and don't maximize the touches like they did last year. I mean, he played every regular season game, or maybe didn't play that last one, and then the playoffs where he had a massive workload. I will also throw in, now this is kind of a positive one for Katie, 49ers first 5 games, 4-1 plus 190, 4-1 plus 190. I think there's one game in those first 5 that they mess up.
Not 5-0, huh?
Not 5-0. I see the case for it, but I'll go 4-1 in the first 5 at plus 190. Katie, you have the Niners going over 10.5 wins. What else do you like for the 49ers futures? Maybe division, conference, Super Bowl.
Yeah, let's go conference. Let's counter Kramer and Moonoff on this, and let's just say not only do they make the playoffs, but they win the conference. You look at Brock Purdy. And he didn't look that great tonight in the preseason game. He didn't have any weapons out there, and obviously no Trent Williams. But last year, he was one of the most efficient passers in the NFL. He's retained all of his elite pass catchers. You look at Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk will be there. At least I think that he will be. And then you added Ricky Pearsall, who's injured right now. seems to be maybe a little bit fragile, but could be spicy as well. The Niners have made the NFC Championship game 4 times in the last 5 years. 2 of those times resulted in a trip to the Super Bowl. Obviously, we know what happens there. They averaged about 10.8 wins per season over the last few years. And this is their 5th straight season with a double-digit win total. So I know the Super Bowl hangover, and this could either blow up in my face or I'm 100% right. I feel like it could, you know what I mean? It could go either way, but I will say 49ers will be the NFC champions again. And then I will also say that they probably lose the Super Bowl to the Chiefs again.
No.
Come on. No.
Dark place over there. All right.
I don't want to watch it. I mean, I guess if it is Chiefs 49ers, I will be betting on the Chiefs again, but I don't know. Football fans don't want to watch Chiefs.
Nobody wanted to watch the Patriots do it over and over again, and they kept going too. So it's,
that is true.
Makes a very good point. Where are we at on Brian Schneider, special teams coach for the San Francisco 49ers?
Great question, Ryan.
Yeah. Any takes on him, Katie?
No, I got no takes on it.
Well, because the 49ers are 35-1 to have the most kickoff return touchdowns this year, Sean. They will be in our population of 19 teams that we plan on betting on to lead the league in kickoff return touchdowns.
Yeah, see, Katie, we have a theory we're working on that basically none of these teams should be favored over the other one. So
there were only 4 in the entire league last year.
So it's almost like basically a roulette spin, but half the numbers have, half the numbers are jacked up. Yeah. So
this is a beautiful, beautiful market.
I'll let you play that one solo, Ryan. But
really? You're not all in on the 19.
You know what?
We made a pact.
Since it is a system play, most kickoff return for touchdowns at 35-1.
So wait, you're taking the 49ers to have the most kickoff returns?
Well, because we think it's going to take 2.
So basically we're betting like 19 or 20 of the teams because their odds are way higher than the favorites, with the idea that like they should all be priced equally because it's kind of a crapshoot. Except the Ravens. I do think the Ravens are actually good special teams and should be.
I like that. That's an actual handicap. Anything in the awards markets? Because when everyone is already at the top, it's like not a ton of value.
Yeah, I mean,
I do think not necessarily an award, but when you talk about Christian McCaffery maybe having a little bit of regression this year in terms of his yards, I get that, but I do like him. I think he's like 8-1 to have the most rushing touchdowns this season. Like you mentioned, coming off the most dominant season of his career, led the league in, I believe, rushing and scrimmage yards. He was co-leading for the most touchdowns with former 49er Raheem Mostert, 21, won the Offensive Player of the Year, just got an extension, $38 million. I think that we will see a dip in his yardage, like you said. Maybe they won't use him as much as that workhorse, but when it comes to the red zone, they're giving it to Christian McCaffery all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised. And I like it at 8-1 for him to have the most rushing touchdowns.
It is wild how him and Derrick Henry are the chalk. Like Derrick Henry's back.
Yeah.
All the way back. Any interest in George Kittle to have the most receiving touchdowns? I was thinking about this one. No, not at all.
I love George Kittle, but the most receiving touchdowns?
So let's say whatever happens with Ayuk, it lingers into the year. And Kittle, we always see these spike games, right? We talk about it in the best ball streets. What if he has like 3 or 4 of these crazy 2 touchdown spike games?
Yeah.
What's the price that you're getting down on this show?
I mean, I would have to get like 100-1.
It's not quite. It's 80-1.
Yeah, because one, it's a tight end leading the touchdown market, which is very hard
outside of Kyle Pitts.
It was a good year for tight ends last season.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, Sam Laporta had double digits.
Didn't sniff it.
Yeah, he wasn't up there. Yeah, no. And then my underdog fantasy play, I'm going back to it. Christian McCaffrey lower 1175.5 rushing yards. I just think they're not gonna make him that workhorse. This isn't the Oregon Trail. You don't need to grind him out. And
just give him the ball in the red zone, and then he can get all the touchdowns.
Yeah, he can get.
That's all we need.
Katie's touchdowns, regular season, not if they meet with the Eagles in the playoffs, but I'll be rooting for your most rushing touchdowns for Christian McCaffrey.
Thank you.
Do you have an underdog play, Katie? I sent you the sheet. Any of those pique your interest?
Yeah, well, one, I'm taking the under on anything with Ayuk because I just we don't know if he's playing. I definitely think that he will be playing, but as we saw with Debo,
unhappy
well,
with the behavior.
I just think when players do this and they hold out this long, and Debo didn't even hold out this long, and he even admitted it himself. He's like, I wasn't in the right headspace. I didn't have the season that I wanted to have, and there's no way that you could be fighting over contracts and money and not know where you're going to play. We're a few weeks away from the season. This is what, week 2 of the preseason. You still don't know where you're going to play. And we didn't see him on the sideline today. I don't know if he was somewhere in the building or whatever, but there's no way that you're in the right mindset to come out there and kill it and have a good season. So I'm taking unders on anything with Ayuk. I think there was the over under on Purdy's passing yards. What was it, like 4,280? Was that what it was? Or that's what he got last year? What was his line?
39.50.5. I'm guessing you like the higher on that.
I like the higher on that because he managed to get over this last year and he didn't even play in the last game of the season. Now, if you guys think there's going to be some kind of injury to Brock Purdy, no, that may change some things. But I think that I'll take the over on Purdy. I'll take the under on Ayuk. I will take the over on Christian McCaffery for touchdowns, not any of his yards. I agree with you guys. I take the under on any of that. I believe.
And real quick, the touchdowns, are you going rushing touchdowns? I think that's 10.5, or do you like the total touchdown? I don't know if they have a total touchdown.
They don't have
market.
total.
Okay.
11.5 for rushing, 5.5 for receiving.
Over on both of those. Christian McCaffrey is still going to be the guy in the red zone. He's still going to be the one that you're always going to give, the ball to. So yes, but I don't think he's going to be the workhorse like he was this past season.
You ever sit down at the roulette table and someone's playing and they're playing like 27 of the 30, 35 numbers?
To Christian McCaffrey.
Bam.
I mean, it is hard to fade the guy.
There's no slices of pizza left for me. I guess I'll join you, Sean.
Okay.
The rushing yards lower. Probably the sharpest angle. Yeah. Maybe the sharpest angle you've had all episode.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. See, it's great when Ryan gives me some compliments.
It was going to be that or the Purdy touchdown lower. So I decided to stick with the one that she seems to agree with. I don't want to catch any more lasers from Katie.
I mean, you really have to watch.
It's just that you can't wear the T-shirt.
What do you mean?
Oh, Ryan
and then
t-shirt.
Yeah, it's contradictory.
Happy for all his.
You can't wear the Brock Hard T-shirt and then give out some flaccid plays. And you really have to watch the YouTube version because when Katie throws out the lasers with her eyes, it's like, oh my God, I pray for anyone on the receiving end of this in your off camera life. If you're imagine those
you're at the water cooler
lasers
and you throw out a take like a bad Brock Purdy take, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. No,
she says it with her eyes. The lasers.
Well, now you know why I had to get out of there after the Super Bowl, because I was going to take it to a level that should never be seen in public.
Sometimes you got to smack a bitch,
There you go, Ryan.
Just not when I'm there on behalf of CBS for work.
Well, and hey, we didn't get to it up top, but congrats on the extension with CBS.
Thank you.
You're down in Florida, CBS Sports headquarters. Where can people catch you this upcoming NFL season? What do you got cooking?
Oh man. So I'm doing the Top Show, that or the pregame show, every Sunday morning, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Doing a lot of fantasy stuff there. Again, every single Sunday. And then throughout the week, I will be hosting the Early Edge on CBS Sports Network, which is their sports gambling podcast that we also have some programming being on the network side. I'm joining the Fantasy Football Today guys. I'll be there every Friday, and then I'll be sprinkled throughout different HQ and CBS Sports Network programming.
Nice. Hell yeah, we have it on here
God's
at God's Eye. Always has a CBS Sports HQ screen on, locked in, and congrats. Follow our next at Katie Mox. And again, one team preview left. Make sure you check out all 32 and get the phrase that pays.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green. He's Ryan.
Feel pretty certain that the water in San Francisco doesn't cure anything.
Kramer, let it ride.